This is a podcast, a video podcast, and an audio podcast about hip hop music, culture, and history, but more so the preservation of that, whether it's something dating as far back as the late 70s, the 80s, and 90s, 2000s, or something maybe that happened 5 years ago. Events, artists, albums, singles, beefs, whatever. It's all about reminiscing, putting some perspective on history because we know how some of y'all new ninjas like to do. Y'all like to change the narrative, things that happened in the past. But guess what? It still happened. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. I got my homie Tone from IntoTheDome.com. What's good, man?
Man, look here, man. Second straight week, I'm drinking water, man. I'm keeping it clean, baby.
Oh, you got the agua. Yeah, today it was a little stressful, so I got the
Okay, a
little
little
bit
bit
of
of red
red.
wine, nothing wrong.
The only problem with that is it kind of kills my allergy medication, but it's late, so found out the hard way one year. Straight up was like, okay, I could go outside, go out, go to a bar, whatever. No allergies gonna mess with me. I took Zyrtex, had like one beer, Zyrtex was gone, just itching eyes, everything. So don't do that at home. Either take the Zyrtex or have some alcohol. Just understand,
Yeah.
one you may have fun, the other one you ain't gonna have any. But if you're watching for the first time, like we said, this is a program about hip hop culture and history. And what is this? This is episode 6 of this
Yep.
podcast. So we come close to that 10th episode, and we're going to keep improving it. We know certain elements of this program we're trying to improve, and we're doing some things to kind of feel out the process to see what works best. But if you enjoy the content, please know that it is very easy to keep getting this content. Not only should you subscribe to this channel, but when you hit subscribe, also hit the bell right next to subscribe. What that is that's notifications. So anytime video, you will get an email alert that says, hey, a new episode of That Time in Hip Hop is available for you to check out. If you can't do the video, maybe you watch one, maybe you watch this one, but you don't always get the time to watch these videos. There's an audio version available, and all you have to do on any podcast service available or distributing app, uh, just type in the words Hip Hop Now Podcast. Not only will you see my weekly news podcast, but the audio version of this podcast is also available on that stream. This is for hip hop lovers, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is all about, man. So we are here, and something went down this week in hip hop, and that's the point in the show where, we kind of tell you something that happened, or somebody was born, or album dropped. Tone, what we got up for this week?
Well, you know what? This week in hip hop, May the 14th, 2002, Cameron released Come Home With Me on Rockefeller Records, his first project on Rockefeller Records. Now, this is actually very significant because without this allegiance with Dame Dash getting him to Rockefeller, you might not have the Dipset. You might not have the Dipset on a global level that we have now, 16 years later. If this Rockefeller deal would have failed through, Come Home With Me not being, released or not being accepted the way it was, oh man, hip hop would have changed in Harlem, New York. You know what I'm saying? So Come Home With Me is basically the birth of the Dipset outside of little mixtape tracks and little songs that some of the guys in the group did with Cameron prior to joining Rockefeller. So, oh man, very monumental. You talking about a platinum album, singles hit hard with Hey Ma and a couple other tracks that we'll get into before we conclude this segment. So yeah, man, what was your thoughts on Come Home With Me? I thought it was a very dope album. I thought Cameron was still in his prime because he was following up with Confessions and SDE. I enjoyed both of those albums, and Come Home With Me was kind of like a combination of both to a degree because it had some hardcore tracks and they had the club joints and the radio joints to push Cameron to a platinum status, man. But I thought it was dope, man. What you think, Dave?
I thought it was dope, man. I think that's the thing for me. The first album, Confessions of Fire, I was kind of like iffy on it. I liked some tracks, I didn't like others. Of course, Drugs and Entertainment is probably my favorite Cameron album.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect that. You know what I'm saying? So I was really high up on Cameron, but it seemed like it took a minute for another album to drop. And when he got signed to Rockefeller, that was kind of a surprise, knowing him and Jay-Z wasn't the coolest, but I knew him and Dame were. Very dope album. I can't believe that was 2002. Feels like it was yesterday, but it was not. But yeah, man, one of Cam's highlight albums, ushered in the Dipset era, dope time in hip hop for sure, 2002, and everything that was going on at that time. Uh, but it's time to get into the main topic at hand on this show, on this episode, man. And this one is really good because we've done some albums, we've done some things like the EPMD breakup, but this is digging deep into hip hop, and not a lot of people experience this. But me and Tone, even being from different places, experience this, and that is the time in hip hop when Nas's I Am Nastradamus bootleg leaked onto the streets. Tone, what was going on in your world when this happened?
So I'm gonna tell you, this was a time where I was anticipating Nas' third album. You know, obviously we know about Illmatic and the greatness. Me personally, I absolutely adore it. Was written, and so I was kind of like, man, what can he do next? So I heard a lot of rumors about this double CD. I heard two different titles. I am the autobiography, and I am Nostradamus. And I was like, well, either way, it sounds interesting. I heard it's going to be a double CD. It was just rumors and stuff at the time. And so I was at UNCG. I had already graduated, but I was on campus visiting a friend, and I went to the library. I had just graduated a few months earlier, and I went to the library to meet a friend, and Napster had just came out. And for a lot of people younger guys who might be watching this, Napster was a illegal streaming, bootlegging basically, and so a lot of Nas songs leaked online. And I was like, oh, this must be the tracks from this I Am double CD. So I heard all these songs. And so ironically enough, about a day or two later, I'm walking to the store and this dude walk up on me with a bootleg. And it has I Am Nostradamus on the bootleg. And so I look, I don't even need to listen to it, dog. Just go ahead and take my $10. You know what I'm saying? I took that joint, went home, listened to it. I heard songs like Fetus, Blazer 50, Drunk by Myself, all these songs that end up being on Nas's lost tapes back. You fast forward to 2002. Now this is 1999, early like February or March. So the actual I Am album came out in April of 1999. And I was like, well, damn, this don't sound like the joint that I got from dude on the street. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't mad. And let me also preface this with this. I popped the Source magazine because back in the 90s, up until about 2000, I had to get that Source magazine. Source gave I Am 4.5 mics. A lot of people don't understand that. So it was critically acclaimed from the Source magazine. The album was still dope to me, but it didn't have some of the potent songs that was on that leak joint I had. But I wasn't mad because I'm like, yeah, I got the actual I Am and I have this double, well, not double, but 20 some tracks on this bootleg. But I was like, damn, I wonder what happened, man, and how this happened. This is brand new to us with Napster, with MP3s, with filing. It changed the game. And just real quick also, during this time when this changed the game, Mobb Deep's Murder Music also was leaked on Napster, and Loud Records went back and basically pretty much trashed the original Murder Music, and they did another whole album almost. So for any guys,
wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Please tell me that album exists somewhere where I could get it.
You guys you're gonna have to dig deep. But a lot of the tracks, you gotta dig deep online. Maybe a few of them have leaked, songs have leaked on YouTube now over the years and what have you from file sharing. But there was another version of Murder Music, and most of those songs got scrapped by Loud, and Mobb Deep went back and re-recorded Murder Music. So same thing happened when Nas had to go back with Columbia Records and redo I Am because of all those leaks. Now, a lot of people who know hip hop from '99, the big Nas fans know that also later that year, at fall, winter, Nostradamus dropped, and a lot of people was very upset with how Nostradamus ended up because it was not one of Nas' better albums, and probably if you look at his discography, it might be on the bottom of the totem pole. Well, he went back and did all these new songs that year, and you also hear a version of Project Windows on Nostradamus. That was on my bootleg back in like March of that year. So you had the record label said, okay, well, we have all this material. Let's put out 2 albums that same year. That hadn't happened but one time in hip hop. The prior year when DMX did it, with It's
Yeah.
Dark and Flesh of My Flesh. So I think Columbus going for the same thing. Let's make this the year of Nas. Let's go ahead and drop 2 albums, even though he got leaked. But man, it really hurt his discography the way it happened, and we'll get into that more deep. But yeah, man, when it leaked on Napster, and I heard that, I was like, damn, this is gonna affect I Am. I Am did get a high review from the source. Some other publications gave it solid reviews, but make no mistakes about it, man. He definitely suffered because of that bootleg, man.
Yeah, man. And for me, I was living in BMO at the time, and I remember like by that time, at that time, like '99, I didn't have a computer at home, and I hadn't been put on to, like Napster and all that yet. So I was getting it from the streets, and I got a treat for y'all. I have the original bootleg tape
I have
from
that.
1999 off the streets that also has the track listing on it, including Fetus, Small World,
Woo!
Money's My Bitch, Project Window, Papa Was a Player, Daydreaming, Sometimes I Wonder, Blazer 50, original bootleg, y'all. So y'all know when we talking about that time in hip hop, we may say certain things and say facts. But this is facts. This is still here. This is real. You know what I'm saying? But at the time when I heard that, I was just like, "Oh wow!" His album leaked, and at first I didn't believe it because I didn't hear anything. It was like in the past, mixtapes would leak a lot of records. You know what I'm saying? And I think I maybe heard one or two. Um, but then knowing like, wait a minute, this is the whole album, and I went and I bought it and I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this is a whole album. Like this is crazy. And for people who don't know, because times have changed ridiculously. Back then in 1999 and further back, and even somewhere up in the 2000s, when an album leaked, like Tone said about Mobb Deep and Murder Music, the label said, "Oh, putting that on the shelf, done. Make a whole new album." In Nas's case, it was you're gonna make the majority of this album over, and we're just gonna pluck out these songs here and there and throw them on I Am and throw them on Nostradamus, like Project Window, Doctor Knockboot, and songs like that. But fast forward to today, albums leak every week, literally every week in advance. Maybe on a Wednesday, you can have the album before it comes out on Friday, bootleg because of the internet. But so for me, when this bootleg came out, it was kind of bittersweet because it was kind of like I was thirsty to have it and I was glad I had it. But then I knew, oh man, but this ain't never coming out. And really, that hit me more so because it was extremely dope. And it was like, damn, I think this is better than it was written. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because it wasn't really no guest appearances. You know what I'm saying? It was like Illmatic. You know what I'm saying? It was mostly Nas, and it was the new Nas mixed with the old Nas and a lot of street tales. and and stories like Drunk by Myself and stuff like that. So
And,
it was, it was really dope. You know what I'm saying? What'd you say, Tom?
and Vague, that was my, fast forward to 2001 with the Jay-Z and Nas battle. That was my frustration with Columbia and Nas and everyone who was involved with allowing that album to leak, because it's like, when Jay-Z said, you got one hot album every 10-year average type shit, I'm sitting there like, man, do people understand that from the recordings after it was written leading up to Stillmatic, Nas released like 50 damn songs that, what I'm saying, he
Yeah,
completed like 50 songs, and all of these songs got bootleg. And I'm just looking back at some of these songs, man, like My Worst Enemy, Find Your Wealth ended up being on the QB's finest. Amongst Kings, the hardest thing to do is stay alive. I mean, non-storytelling went up a whole nother notch, even it was written. And don't get me wrong, I Gave You Power as a hip hop staple. It's one of the dopest songs in hip hop history. But Nas didn't drop off with that. When you have songs like Blazer 50 and things like that, I'm like, damn, Nas really didn't fall off. He was in a zone. He went from I Gave You Power to Undying Love that did make it to the original I Am that was released in the record stores. Undying Love, a love story about his girl cheating on him and the murder and all this. I mean, it was really like a movie. You know what I'm saying? So Nas' vivid imagery in his lyrics never fell off. It's just that the record label decided to pull songs here and there, record a couple of new ones, and kind of throw Nastradamus together instead of taking their time. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I would have still released I Am Autobiography double CD. I would not
yeah,
let these many songs sit and collect dust all the way to the lost tapes in 2002. I'd have released that double CD with all of those tracks on it, because I do believe that if you release that double CD, Nas' career is totally different. Even though he's a hip hop god, his career is different. New York hip hop might have been, influenced different for his new double CDs moving forward, because that double CD would have rivaled Biggie's Life After Death and Tupac's All Eyes on Me, the original I Am autobiography.
yeah. I think I totally agree, man. And it's funny because again, people try to change the narrative, but you got to look at the fact that how do people regard the lost tapes, right? Most people call that a classic, and that is literally like a unreleased and B-side CD. That's like Earth, Wind, and Fire's greatest hits was like it was like another album, even though people heard those songs before. People play that joint like it was an album that came out that was separate from everything. And that's how I feel about I Am Nostradamus, man. Like it was the double CD that we were supposed to get. And when you think about Illmatic and It Was Written, you think about the songs that was on I Am Nostradamus, like Nas is like, because that's on the tape
Yeah,
also.
yeah, it is,
You know what
no
I'm
doubt.
saying? Yeah. So you think about all those records and those three albums coming back to back, there would have been Jay Z wouldn't have been able to say that. And more importantly, Jay Z knew. Jay Z knew that album was. Everybody knew. He knew that album was bootleg. He knew that Nostradamus was a complete rush job just to get more material. That's why I Am the autobiography was scored so much higher because they kind of poured all the dopeness into that, scrapped all the other dope stuff we had via bootleg, and then created a bunch of whack stuff for Nostradamus. But we know how that battle went.
You know
So,
what, too, Meg?
but Tone, let's.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I mean to cut you off
Uh,
just real quick. Just during that time,
yeah, go ahead.
also think about the tracks like Purple and Do Rags and No Ideas Original and Blackness, Seed of Heaven and all of this. I mean, you have like I said a few minutes ago, you have probably about 50 songs from the record after the recordings that it was written up into Stillmatic that, unfortunately, fans did not get a chance to hear it to kind of after the fact. And it was smart for them to release the lost tapes after Stillmatic, because Nas was riding high. So you release it Stillmatic, the lost tapes, and go right into Godson. So you kind of made up for the mistakes you made in 1999, in 2001, 2002, 2003, etc. So that was smart to do that, but it just still kind of put a little damper on his legacy, because who else makes that many amazing tracks and you don't get a chance to hear it? Because Napster, again, it changed the music game, because for about 3 years, Napster, millions of people downloaded so much material. And
Hmm.
Nas is one of the first artists and hip hop artists to be a victim of MP3 file sharing, and it changed the course of to me hip hop and New York hip hop.
Yeah, man. And another thing, and I think you mentioned this. One of the bootleg also kind of gave us some gems, also, like with it being leaked and a lot of that being dropped, and them having to go towards other songs. It did give us a record I loved a lot at the time, maybe because I was in the clubs, and maybe because of the energy of the record and the video. But "Hate Me Now," what I'm saying, was born out of that. Also, Undying Love, probably one of the most underrated stories in hip hop of all time. Not because it's forgettable, but people forgot about it. And it's really crazy. You know what I'm saying? But that was a really crazy time in hip hop with bootlegging, and because it happened all the time, man. Dudes was afraid for their albums to get leaked because they would get shelved. And if you're not a dude like Tupac, or in this case with Nas, where you just working and just pumping out records, you cannot afford for your stuff to get leaked back then, because chances are you won't be able to capture that magic. As a writer, where you find inspiration, man. So crazy. But let's just look at how, not only how it changed his career, but what followed. Like, okay, this album leaked. Everybody, real hip hop fans got it. We on the streets and all of that, listening to it. We're rocking it. A lot of us were somewhat disappointed with I Am, because it wasn't as dope as the bootleg, and then Nostradamus was just totally out of sorts. Did you think this leak was leading to the end of Nas as a rapper, as a top five rapper?
When I first heard the leak, that I think that his momentum was gonna just be totally stifled.
Mm,
I
yeah.
mean, well, I would have thought that if I would have heard I Am and thought it was dope as it was. Because again, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Yeah, I had the bootleg, the same bootleg you have, and actually I had another bootleg also, several different ones. People packaging different bootlegs together. But yeah, I was disappointed when I heard it, and I was happy I heard it too. So it's kind of mixed emotions about it. But when I heard I Am, truthfully, man, I was like, wow, man, he still put it together, because you got New York State of Mind too, like Ghetto Prisoners Rise, like you said, Hate Me Now, Undying Love. You had Money's My Bitch. You had all of these Nas's Lights. We took it back to Queensbridge with Nas's Light with Primo. And then the track We Will Survive, the dedication to Tupac and Biggie. Now there's been a lot of dedication songs to Big or Pac, or both of them over the years and what have you. But for a lot of younger fans, go back on YouTube and put in Nas We Will Survive, and listen to how he break down his perspective and his relationship with Tupac and Biggie, and then listen to his third verse when he's talking about music and legendary artists passing away in general. And you'll be very pleased with it. Again, with Undying Love, anybody listen to this podcast tonight, go back and put in Undying Love in YouTube and listen to the lyrics and the focus and the storytelling in that song is legendary. So personally, I was like, well, Nas is still fine. We got this bootleg in the streets where people know he still got that flow, and we got this successful double platinum type album with I Am. The problem was the Nostradamus piece, like you said, because it was indeed rushed. I think it was a money grab by Columbia Records. I think they could have saved that material, and there were a couple of good songs on Nostradamus. You should have went on and saved it and not rushed it, and maybe went to the next year and released a full-fledged album with more focus, And so I think Nostradamus, when that dropped, I was kind of like, all right, Nas, now you was hot earlier this year, DMX still hot. Jay-Z is totally destroying New York hip hop in a good way. He is dropping hits after hits. By that time, he had already had about 3 or 4 dope albums. So Nas left the door open to be attacked by Jay-Z and anybody else at the time. You know what I'm saying? Because Nostradamus, I think he was kind of like, all right, just go ahead and release it. You know what I'm saying? And at that time when Nostradamus came out, him and Jay had already been throwing subliminals for a while. And on that song, Come Get Me, it was a direct diss to Jay-Z without saying his name. After that is when Bleak did made the little remarks in a little song, and then everything started bubbling over the next year. And that's when it went full-fledged in 2001. But 2000, the subliminals between Nas and Rockefeller started happening, and Nas didn't have a lot to stand on at the time because Nostradamus was his recent solo album, even though Queen's Bridge Finest came out during that time too. So, yeah, man, I mean, I didn't think that he was really going to be hurt until Nostradamus dropped. Then I was like, man, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I didn't feel like it was over, but I felt like, all right, well, this is when you look at the career of musicians or singers, and rappers with longevity, you know, usually if they got a nice run, you get that one whack album, and it's all about what they do after that. Um, but Nostradamus was just, it was kind of beyond just whack for Nas, because it's one thing to make a couple of records where they don't really hit, because I felt like the production was really trash for the most part. We listened to a lot of the lyrics on those Nostradamus records; they're not bad,
Not at all.
but the production and the hooks were terrible for the most part. Like I'm looking at the track listing now, and I could barely remember what some of these records sound like, except for like "Come and Get Me" and "Shoot 'Em Up" and what else? "You Owe Me," which was most hip hop fans hate that, but I'm a hip hop fan, a true hip hop fan, but I clubbed a lot. And "You Owe Me" in the club, particularly the strip club, you would like that record.
Yeah, it popped
But
off for what it was worth.
yeah, exactly. But it did not belong on this album. This album really felt so thrown together, so rushed. Um, I felt like it was a bad look. And Jay Z was at a point where he also had a song called "Come and Get Me" on the S. Dot Carter album.
Yep.
That I believe might have been a slight comeback or whatever, as far or rebuttal to what Nas was saying. But Jay Z was at a point where everything he was touching was a hit. Every
Yeah.
single would come out as a hit. Uh, albums would be successful. He was just on top. You know what I'm saying? And it made it look like Nas was fading, and that's why he took the opportunity to take the direct jab at Nas, because he felt like he was vulnerable, and and he was in his emotions a little bit. But we know what happened.
Yeah,
We
you
know
know
what
what?
happened.
Nostradamus was kind of like a boxer who had gotten, stunned real bad in the 8th round, and dude came back out in the ninth, like he's still hurt. I'm gonna just throw a bunch of punches to try to get him up out of there. You know what I'm saying? That's why that attack was so vicious from Jay Z. And like I said, I don't even know if the Jay Z Nas battle would even happen if I am the autobiography would have dropped. I think that again, a lot of people's approach to how they view Nas and hip hop in New York, especially, would have been different, especially Jay Z, because he had a lot of respect for Nas. He just saw Nas in the ropes hurt and decided to throw some blows at him and say, I'm the king of New York now. You know what I'm saying? He's always admired him. If anybody go back to all his earlier albums, he's talking about Nas in every album. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's a
and
he's one of his favorite
yeah,
rappers.
and exactly. And it's such a tight argument because it's so clear. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Nas said it in Ether about, you wanted me on each one of your records, which is true. He was been requesting Nas as a guest feature since Reasonable Doubt.
Facts.
This is from the words, this is from the mouth of Jay-Z. And, for one reason or another, Nas couldn't do it, didn't want to do it, whatever the case may have been. but it was a lot of emotion from Jay-Z that was there. And when you see him now, like he did at that one show, saying, he had no right to go against Nas like that, which I thought, that's a man talking, not these little boys that like to argue on the internet. But regardless of the whole back and forth between those two, which the bootleg of I Am Nastradamus had a lot to do with that. It kind of led into that situation,
Yeah.
as the stars aligned in hip hop, which brought it there, brought Nas's career to where it was. But I did this. I used to do this podcast, and it was a radio segment called One to Flow on, the audio version, not the video joint I do. And I did this one that I believe I still call would be classics. And it was about albums that, for whatever reason, were derailed, whether they were shelved or bootlegged in the case of I Am Nastradamus, and how I felt if they would have dropped as they were, would they be considered hip hop classics? Tone, if I Am Nostradamus, the bootleg that features, let's run down that track listing real quick.
Okay.
Since I got the official joint right here. Wow, this joint is, you can tell is bootleg, man. Just
Yeah,
papered up.
show that. Yeah, I have the same one.
Just papered up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So people can see, it's crazy. It's crazy that I still have this, and it's in very good condition.
Mine is in the attic, man. I
But
still have it.
yeah, man. Records like Fetus, Small World, Money's My Bitch, Project Window, Papa Was a Player, Dr. Knockboot, Daydreaming, Stay Scheming. Nas did that before Drake. Don't get mad. Sometimes I Wonder featuring Nature.
Woo!
The hardest thing to do is stay alive. Drunk by myself. Want to play. Blaze of 50. We will survive. And Nas is like. That's what was on the tape of the bootleg. But as we know, as time went on, more records started leaking, and the album started to reveal itself. But Tone, would this be a classic if it dropped for you? And what is your favorite song off of this album?
All right, so I had more than one version. I had that version, and I had an alternate version also. And I was trying to find it in my garage about an hour ago, actually, because I thought I had it up here in the office, but I didn't. So I had another version that had a couple other songs in there, Amongst Kings and Find Your Wealth and a few other joints. Now the version that I have, I feel like it's even a doper than the one that you was listing out, and I thought it was absolutely fire mics. That one right there is a great album. I thought it would have been very dope, close to classic. I thought it would have been a pretty tight follow-up behind It Was Written, and I thought it would have been a good lead-up to whatever his next album was going to be. So, yeah, I think it could have potentially been looked at in 2018 as one of Nas' better projects, man. So, yeah, it just mixed the boat. But let me say this real quick. Papa Was a Player. A lot of people thought Derek D-Dot did that beat, but that was a young Kanye West who was his protege at the time. He was learning some on the D-Dot, the mad rapper. Kanye did Papa Was a Player for Nas. Uncredited.
When you listen to that beat, it sounds like Kanye.
Yeah, and it was. So, which is funny thinking about that. Then, and just real quick, Kanye ended up doing that. Still Dreaming on Hip Hop Is Dead, I believe, and then now he's gonna produce Nas' album coming out this summer. That's just a little segue, just as I reminisce on the track list that you just named. But yeah, I think that would have been it. My favorite song probably at that time on the album was Drunk by Myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I think I was in my early 20s and I was drinking a lot, so it made sense. But I think Drunk by Myself was very vivid. Blazer 50, I think Drunk by Myself and Blazer 50 was kind of neck and neck. And Fetus was right there too, because I thought that was so vivid, man. Like rappers just don't rap like that, man. I mean, he still was on one, man. I swear. But yeah, man. And real quick too, another side note, there was another CD that leaked called The Death of Escobar. Because rumor was that was gonna be another Nas album as well, coming out the I Am the autobiography, it's like it was gonna tell his life story, and the death of Escobar was gonna be tracks that was kind of dark leading up to him dying. You know what I'm saying? As far as the story, because they had songs on the death of Escobar. Leak had songs like oh my God, what's the name? It's a couple songs on there. I'm gonna come back to some of them songs. I got a memory blank just now, but it was a lot of dope songs and it was more dark on Death to Escobar, man. So those are songs that
Yeah,
weren't known. Those songs weren't known. Those original I Am leaks. Like
yeah. I
Tales
think
from the Hood. He had tracks like he got a song Tales from the Hood. I think a track called Here I Come. There was
yeah.
a lot of other joints you can YouTube. Death to Escobar.
I think with the lost tapes, that wasn't all from I Am Nastradamus. Some of it was stuff that didn't make Stillmatic and stuff that didn't make Godson.
Yep.
Uh, I think like Purple was one of those records and Black Zombies and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, but it, it's difficult to say because, like you said, man, Fetus is just one of those records, man. That's just pure head nod, listen. You know what I'm saying? Just the delivery of that track. If you don't know, Fetus is was the intro to the I Am Nostradamus bootleg, and it basically was a song about Nas growing inside his mother as a baby and eventually being born. You don't get rappers thinking about stuff like that when they try to make a record. That just doesn't happen anymore. It may sound very like, well, why would I want to hear that? But until you hear it, then that's when you like, yeah, this is crazy. This is fire.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I gotta say, the song that probably won me over time that didn't appear on this original bootleg, but I found out later, it was probably really it was hard to find at one point till I finally got my hands on it, and that's Find Your Wealth. I love
Woo!
that record, man. Like the way some people and even I disliked it when I first heard it. Disliked Juicy, but to me when I heard Juicy and I saw the video and thought about it was all a dream and where you come from and stuff like that. It made me like it. Find Your Wealth is like that,
Oh, let me say this then.
but it's yeah,
So I haven't heard Find Your Wealth in years, but let me say this one line. I might mess this up, y'all, so don't laugh at me. But I remember, I think the song started off with From Breaking Atoms to Illmatic, took home platinum. Shit did change course since ripping it with main source. Oh
yeah,
man. Woo! And he kept on going, man. And I just remember how dope that was, man. You're right. Find Your Wealth is an amazing track, man.
yeah, and even the beat, you know what I'm saying? It's just is dope. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those records, man, that if you're a younger cat and obviously you didn't grow up in the 90s and there's nothing to be ashamed of. You grow up when you grow up. I mean, shit, if we grew up in this time, you'd probably be loving the mumble rap just as much as you may. Or well, I know some young cats who hate it too, but I just say that to say that you can never be too old or too young to enjoy music from another time. And the thing that we're saying about this record, Find Your Wealth, it's about his flow, it's about his sincerity in his lyrics, because you feel like he means it. You know what I'm saying? You feel it, and you feel it from a personal standpoint, because maybe there was a rags to riches story for you, and that don't have to mean actual rags to riches, but maybe someone struggling to make it, even if you got a silver spoon, but it's all your pop's money or your parents' money, and you trying to make it as an individual. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those records, man, and it's just a dope record, man. That it's if I could turn back the hands of time and just say this album needs to come out, Power of a Dollar needs to be released. Like I know what we got instead, and it was great also. And maybe you don't have Stillmatic if you have this. Maybe you have something greater. Maybe Nas is kind of done after that. We don't know, man. But the internet is a wonderful place. You can find I Am Nastradamus, the bootleg version, somewhere on the internet. If you want to go and scour, your streaming service, the songs do exist on certain albums or whatever. You would have to create a playlist in order to put them together. But songs like "Find Your Wealth," um, "Fetus," "Papa Was a Player." I don't think that appeared on anything. Did it?
Yeah, Pop Was a Player ended up being on the lost tapes also. But
On the lost tape.
let me also recommend a few other songs that was. So I'm looking at this Death of Escobar Volume One. So there's other bootlegs that came out. He had a song called "The Rise and Fall." Please, if you haven't heard that
Oh
song, fast
yeah,
YouTube, "The
yeah,
Rise and Fall." He'll tell you his exact life story from signing that first contract all the way up to that point in his career. It's very vivid. This is the Death of Escobar. He had a song that called "My Worst Enemy," and oh man, I'm gonna tell you, "My Worst Enemy" is very detailed and vivid. He had a song called "Your Mouth Got You in It." You know what I'm saying? That's a hard joint. "You Don't Know Me." I mean, so Nas got so much. "Tales from the Hood," like I said earlier. Yeah, man, there's a lot of songs doing those recordings of those albums that we didn't get a chance to hear in its most clear and engineered version. But the "I Am Nostradamus" potential, to me, I just think would have made him the undisputed king of New York instead of, okay, you're the king a couple of months, then you relinquish something to Biggie, then you get it back, then you relinquish something to Jay-Z, you get it back, you relinquish something to DMX or whoever. I think that would have made him a little more undisputed kind of way when Jay-Z finally had his run. At some point, he was the king of New York. You know what I'm saying? Whether
yeah.
people are fans or not, I don't care. I'm talking facts. At one point, Jay-Z was the king of New York for a long period of time. And Nas' reign was shorter, kind of like what Biggie said. Your reign on the top was short like leprechauns. As a crushed so-called Willis, thugs, and whatever, Willie Esco, whatever. So yeah, your reign on the top was short. So I think Nas's reign would have been longer if "I Am," the original bootleg, would have been released by Columbia Records, man.
Yeah, man. Columbia Records botched a couple of things back in the days, man. We ain't gonna get into it. Bulletproof wallets, but
Yeah.
uh, did I say that? But nevertheless, man, I Am Nostradamus, the bootleg, the original version. If you're a hip hop fan, if you're a Nas fan, especially if you're a Nas fan, and you've never heard that joint, you've probably heard most of the songs. But if you never heard it in the order that, you know, where's it at? Where when I went up to the African dude and I was like, yo, that's Nas album, and yo, let me get that. You know what I'm saying? If you never heard this, authentic from 1999, it is available on the internet for free 99. Or again, somebody's made a playlist somewhere. Maybe I'll make the playlist and then I'll put it out there so people who can. Well, you gotta have Spotify, or you get the free version, whatever works. But definitely, y'all should go check that out. Now we get to the point in the show where we recommend an album or a mixtape or whatever it may be that we think you should go back and check out. We already kind of gave you one in this, but we got some good ones, man. My recommendation for this week, first of all, this album, this artist is a part of my DNA. When I say that, I'm not just talking hip hop rhyming style. He definitely influenced my content for sure. If you've heard my music, but like really influenced how I approach things, how I deal with people, man. And it's Ice Cube's Death Certificate, Ice Cube's second album out of the
Whew.
year 1991. To me, his best album ever, mainly because America's Most Wanted was dope because it was finally free. But this is the refinement. Just how some people feel about, Low End Theory being that breakthrough album, and some people feel like Midnight Marauders was the refinement or the peak of a Tribe Called Quest as a group. That's how I feel about this because not only does Death Certificate contain then NWA, America's Most Wanted, Jerry Curl, Ice Cube, type music and beats, but it also contains Shaved Head, Nation of Islam, Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? And he had the light side and the dark side on, if you had it on cassette, the A side was the light side and the B side was the dark side. And when you look at the track listen, that A side was like straight hood tales from Bird in the Hand to My Summer Vacation, which that's probably my favorite record. And the dark side was more so speaking from that, we need to like get ourselves together, like songs like True to the Game and Us, you know what I'm saying, where even though people got mad at him for being against Jews and Koreans with songs like Black Korea, he also had a song called Us that blamed us as black people for blaming other people for what's being done to us and not standing up and doing better. And more importantly than all that dope shit I just named about this album and the skits and how it flowed, it also contains one of the greatest diss records of all time in No Vaseline, which is, if you've seen the Straight Outta Compton movie, it's the diss record when Ice Cube decided to get back at NWA for dissing him, calling him Benedict Arnold, and they're going to cut his hair and blah, blah, blah. And he demolished one of the world's most dangerous rap crew by himself. And they couldn't do nothing about it. Tone, what do you think about Ice Cube's death certificate, and what's your recommendation for this week?
First off, Ice Cube, Death Certificate is an amazing album. I tinker back and forth between America's Most Wanted, the debut, and the Death Certificate. Both of them are 5 mic classics to me. You can't lose either way. Of course, like I always say, as an MC progressing his career, he's supposed to become a better MC. So essentially, Ice Cube was a more well-rounded MC on the Death Certificate as opposed to his NWA days and his America's Most Wanted days, which, again, I thought the production on America's Most Wanted was a little bit better because of the Bomb Squad, but I thought the Death Certificate subject matter and him just evolving as an artist was better. My Summer Vacation is an amazing track. Of course, No Vaseline to me is the #1 diss song in hip hop history. I've always said that. So it's #1 to me. So yeah, it's very dope, man. So classic material by Ice Cube. My recommendation this week is the Clips, Hell Hath No Fury, released in 2006. I'm partial to Lord Willing, the debut, because of grinding and just the Virginia track, man, that put Virginia on the map as far as hardcore hip hop. But Hell Hath No Fury was different from a production standpoint. I don't know what the Neptunes was doing, man, but they put some dark beats together, a bunch of instrumentals, a bunch of, just like the song Keys Open Doors. For anyone who hasn't heard that track, go to YouTube and put in Keys Open Doors by the Clips and turn it up. And you're going to be like, what was they drinking when they made that beat? So, it was really that production was insane. It was critically acclaimed. It got like 4 or 5 stars in every publication. I even think it got 5 stars. It got 5 stars in All Music. And I want to say Rolling Stones gave it a 4.5 out of 5. So it's their highest as far as ranking of critical acclaim as far as album. I think Push and Malice were both very sharp on the joint. I enjoyed the first single, Mr. Me Too. I thought it was cool. The video with Pharrell, it was kind of like, it was flossing, man. It was dope. I thought they did a good job on the album, man. So that'll be my recommendation, man. The Clips, Hell Hath No Fury. Check it out. I think you'll appreciate it if you haven't heard it. Oh, and also, real quick, speaking of the Clips, this past Sunday was Pusha T's birthday, so shout out to Pusha T, man. He just had a birthday, man, and salute to him. And he's an executive with good music with Kanye, and he's doing a good job as far as like with his business, man. So yeah, man, salute to Pusha T.
Yeah, man, that album I remember. I didn't even know it was out. Like I heard I Got It for Cheap and Mr. Me Too, and I was like, yeah, these joints is cool. And this when I was working in the radio station, and I wasn't the host of the hip hop show, but I was kind of like executive producing a little bit in the background. So they would come to me and be like, yo, you should check out this. And it was like, this is their best album. I'm like, they got something better than Grinding on it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because that first album was truth. But went and listened to it, man. And what I really love about the Clips and the Neptune's parent is the Neptune's sound is very different. It's not threatening. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about with the Clips, but their sound in general. You know what I'm saying? It's very like spring break party, you know what I'm saying, summertime, kind of that kind of fun, chill vibe to it. But the production they created for the Clips, like you said, that had a darker tone to it, it's like its own unique style of hardcore hip hop that kind of went well with the Clips. It made them very unique compared to anybody else. It made them stand out. Because honestly, if you think about it, if you took the Clips and you just put them on a bunch of primo beats and stuff like that, now they're kind of competing with everybody who rhymes over primo beats,
Right.
everybody who rhymes their same style in. But because they had this unique sound that was still hardcore coming from Pharrell and the Neptunes, it made them stand out even more, and it kind of made them dope. So yeah, man, that's one album. Honestly, maybe a couple of times out the year when I'm scrolling through to see what I'm going to listen to, I go there. You know what I'm saying? Hell Hath No Fury is one of their, probably arguably their best album, and it's sad that well, I won't say sad, but for Clips fans, you wish you could get one or two more albums out of them, but it wouldn't be the
Yeah.
same. So, but dope recommendation, man. Happy birthday to Pusha T. Also, I believe Grinding is 16 years old as of this week, which is also crazy. Knowing that is probably that's like Flavor in Yeah beat. It's just perfect for rhyming in a cipher, in a lunchroom, wherever you may be. It's just it never gets old. You know what I'm saying? It never gets
Not at
old.
all. Not
But
at
that's
all.
gonna do it. Yeah, not at all, man. But that's gonna do it for us for this week on That Time in Hip Hop. We hope you enjoyed the podcast and the stories and the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Go out and listen to a lot of this stuff. Support hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're a person who haven't heard any of these things, go out and check them all out. Go read about them. Go look at some of the facts that Tone put out there. You know what I'm saying? If you're a person who remember it, maybe we jogged your memory and you're like, damn, I'm gonna go back and listen to that Clips album. I'm gonna go back and listen to Death Certificate. I haven't heard it in a while. Maybe you're like me. Damn, I don't own that. Let me go buy it because I do that frequently. Whatever the case may be, man, show your support by hitting that like button, by subscribing to this podcast, getting the notifications, knowing that every week you can enjoy this hip hop music, history, culture, stories, and perspectives. And we can all keep this culture alive. But more importantly, share it with the people you know would enjoy this podcast. So hit that share button, share it on your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever hip hop fans may be, because we are everywhere. If you want more information on just music in general or some of these topics about some of these artists or even just other articles, you can go to intothedome.com. That's ENTERDADOME.com. The link is also in the description. Leave your comments, man. How did you feel about the I Am Nastradamus bootleg? Did you know it ever existed? Do you have it? Are there some points we left out? Leave your comments in the comment section below. On behalf of myself, Vegas of Hip Hop Now Podcast, and Tone of IntoTheDome.com, we will see you next week and we'll have some more dope stories for y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.